They weren't supposed to say it out loud. For years, British officials talked about security challenges and global threats, always wrapped in polite diplomatic language. But in 2024, that mask came off. The UK government finally said the quiet part directly. The Royal Navy must prepare for the possibility of a war with Russia. And what came after that statement is nothing short of a complete naval revolution. Today, we're going deep into the strategy that's reshaping Britain's entire military posture. A plan built around submarines, nuclear deterrence, drone warfare, autonomous fleets, and the kind of rapid response doctrine designed to counter the most dangerous parts of Russia's expanding capabilities. This isn't Cold War nostalgia. This comes straight from NATO assessments, UK defense documents, classified hints that have been paraphrased publicly, and official government briefings that describe Russia as the most acute and immediate threat to British national security. And whether anyone likes it or not, the Royal Navy is now the front line of that confrontation. Let's dive in. The shift didn't happen overnight. It has been building since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. But the turning point, the moment the UK openly abandoned decades of strategic caution, came with the 2024 Strategic Defense Review. The review didn't dance around the issue. It stated that warfighting readiness would now be the primary function of Britain's armed forces, not peacekeeping, not counterterrorism, not expeditionary policing, warfighting, and specifically warfighting against a state adversary with nuclear, naval, and cyber capabilities, a description that fits exactly one nation in Europe. Inside the Ministry of Defense, the mood shifted. People who had spent years focusing on overseas stabilization missions were suddenly relearning high-intensity warfare doctrines, traditional Cold War concepts, tracking submarines through the GI-UK gap, protecting Atlantic sea lanes, preparing for missile attacks, all began to reappear in British strategy documents. Behind closed doors, military officials were already saying that Russia's navy had entered a new era. Moscow had spent the last decade modernizing its northern fleet, pushing submarines into the Arctic, upgrading warships with caliber cruise missiles, testing hypersonic Zircon missiles, and deploying experimental systems like the Poseidon nuclear-powered underwater drone. None of that is speculation. These deployments have been confirmed through Russian government announcements, satellite imagery, independent weapons analysts, Western intelligence, and multiple NATO briefings. And the uncomfortable truth was this: Russia's navy was becoming a threat Britain couldn't ignore. So the question became simple: what does Britain do about it? The answer begins underwater. Britain's current fleet of Astute-class attack submarines is respected throughout NATO. They are quiet, lethal, and capable of striking targets on land and sea. But the government acknowledged it wasn't enough for the type of threat Russia now poses across the North Atlantic. That's why the decision to build the next-generation SSN-AUKUS submarines is arguably the most important naval investment Britain has made since the 1960s. These submarines, developed jointly with the US and Australia, will combine American weapon systems, British reactor tech, and Australian basing partnerships. The UK plans for these subs to begin replacing the Astute class in the late 2030s, forming the backbone of the Royal Navy's underwater capabilities into the 2040s and beyond. The aim is to build up to 12 of them. That number has been widely discussed in AUKUS-focused defense reporting and aligns with Britain's industrial commitments at Barrow and Furness. It's a massive long-term undertaking that ties the UK's security directly to the Indo-Pacific as well as the North Atlantic. But these new submarines are not just replacements. They are something entirely different. They are designed to connect into a global data-sharing architecture, using AI-supported detection systems, ultra-long-range missiles, and advanced sonar suites that allow them to track Russian submarines across thousands of miles. And if you're wondering why Russia finds this alarming, consider this. Russian nuclear submarines represent Moscow's second strike nuclear capability. If those submarines can be tracked consistently, Russia's entire nuclear deterrent becomes more fragile. That's why the UK's underwater strategy is expanding beyond the submarines themselves. British naval planners are moving toward what you can describe as an underwater kill web, a network of autonomous underwater drones, seabed sensors, long-range acoustic monitoring systems, and AI-driven tracking tools that can cover vast areas of the Atlantic. This isn't just theory. The UK has announced investments into autonomous underwater vessels. The US has major programs in development that the UK will have access to through AUKUS, and British defense contractors have already demonstrated prototype systems. The direction is clear. The North Atlantic will eventually be saturated with unmanned systems. And yes, Russia knows this, but the submarine program is only one side of the equation. The other is nuclear. Ever since the 1960s, the cornerstone of Britain's strategic deterrent has been its ballistic missile submarines. What's happening now is a massive upgrade of that entire capability. The UK is investing around £15 billion into renewing its nuclear warheads, delivery systems, support facilities, and command infrastructure. That figure isn't a rumor. It's directly reflected in UK government spending plans and statements related to the warhead replacement program. Some defense analysts describe this as the largest single investment in British nuclear capabilities since the Cold War, and they're not exaggerating. The continuous at-sea deterrent, the cast has been unbroken since 1969. At least one British nuclear submarine has always been on patrol somewhere, undetected, capable of responding to a nuclear attack. But with Russia's development of hypersonic missiles and experimental underwater drones designed to target submarine bases, the UK is strengthening its ability to ensure those submarines will always survive a first strike. This matters because Russia has made enormous nuclear investments of its own. The Poseidon drone, essentially a nuclear torpedo that can cross oceans autonomously, is designed specifically to bypass missile defenses. Its Zircon hypersonic missile, if performing as claimed, would challenge even advanced NATO interception systems. And Kalibor missiles have already proven their range and precision throughout the war in Ukraine. Britain's nuclear modernization isn't posturing. It's a response to a rapidly evolving threat environment where Russia is clearly preparing multiple methods to bypass NATO defenses. But the truly disruptive part of the Royal Navy's war plan isn't nuclear or subsurface, it's unmanned warfare. Over the past 5 years alone, Britain has accelerated its use of unmanned surface and underwater vehicles. Through its Navy X Innovation program, the Royal Navy has tested autonomous mine hunters, reconnaissance drones, and mini-submersibles capable of long-endurance missions. And these aren't small experiments. They're the foundation of a future where large parts of naval warfare are conducted without a single crew member aboard. Senior Royal Navy officers have openly described the future surface fleet as a hybrid force. Fewer big, expensive warships, and far more unmanned vessels that can swarm, scout, jam, and strike without risking human lives. The logic is simple. A drone that costs a fraction of a frigate can still disable a multi-million-pound Russian ship if used correctly. A drone swarm can force a Russian destroyer to reveal its radar. A small, unmanned surface vessel can slip into contested waters where a frigate would be too vulnerable. Missile defense systems are not designed to handle dozens of cheap, fast, expendable drones attacking all at once. This is why the UK is investing heavily in unmanned systems and why Russia takes this seriously. Moscow's naval doctrine is built around high-value platforms. Drone warfare flips that logic on its head. And that brings us to one of the most surprising and misunderstood parts of Britain's new naval strategy: the transformation of its aircraft carriers. When the Queen Elizabeth-class carriers were introduced, the world expected them to operate like traditional American-style carrier groups. But the UK began quietly shifting their purpose. Instead of serving purely as Britain's own floating air bases, these carriers are being repositioned as European and NATO air power hubs. This is backed up by public statements from UK defense ministers and NATO coordination plans. The carriers can host allied F-35s, drones, and future European air systems. In other words, the carriers are modular. They are platforms for multinational warfare. They are designed to integrate seamlessly with allies. And this is the one scenario Russia absolutely did not want to see: a European coalition strike group capable of deploying rapidly into the North Atlantic, Mediterranean, or Arctic. And it doesn't end there. Escort ships around these carriers are being upgraded with new anti-submarine sensors. Early warning aircraft are receiving major enhancements. Missile systems are being integrated into multinational defense networks. And yes, the carriers are testing drone deployments directly from their flight decks. The old model of a carrier battle group was slow and predictable. The new model is fast, flexible, and multinational. Meanwhile, the threat environment around the British Isles has completely changed. Russian research vessels, in reality, intelligence ships with advanced sensor systems, have repeatedly been spotted near critical undersea infrastructure. Western intelligence agencies have warned multiple times that Russia may be preparing sabotage operations against undersea cables. Those cables carry 95% of the world's financial data. They're not optional. They are as strategically important as satellites. The UK has taken these threats seriously. The Royal Navy has increased patrols around North Sea energy infrastructure. It has deployed specialized vessels to protect undersea assets. And the UK government has created task forces specifically designed to track, deter, and respond to potential Russian sabotage attempts. This is the kind of quiet tension the public rarely hears about, but NATO reports have highlighted it repeatedly. Then there's the Arctic. Climate change is opening new sea routes along Russia's northern coastline. Moscow has responded by building new bases, new radar stations, and new airfields. It has deployed ice-capable warships and nuclear-powered icebreakers. In short, Russia sees the Arctic as its future strategic frontier. Britain is responding in its own way. The Royal Marines have returned to their traditional roots as a cold weather commando force. The UK is working closely with Norway and the United States on Arctic surveillance and joint exercises, and British submarines regularly operate under the Arctic ice, something the Royal Navy has a long tradition of doing. The Arctic is becoming a new potential flashpoint, and the UK knows it. All of this comes together into a doctrine that is fundamentally different from Britain's post-Cold War military posture. For decades, the UK focused on expeditionary warfare, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, anti-piracy missions, or peacekeeping. But now the focus is on rapid, high-intensity conflict with a technologically advanced adversary. This requires something Britain hasn't prioritized for years: speed, faster decision-making, faster deployments, faster targeting, faster integration between ships, drones, satellites, submarines, and cyber tools. UK naval planners are pushing toward what they describe as a collaborative kill web, a system where any sensor in the network can feed targeting data to any weapon system. A drone detects a submarine, a satellite confirms it, a frigate marks it, a submarine strikes it, all in minutes. This is the kind of warfare Russia is preparing for, and it's the kind of warfare Britain can no longer ignore. But Britain is not acting alone. One of the most important parts of this transformation is how deeply the UK has embedded itself into the AUKUS alliance. The level of technology sharing Britain is receiving: AI systems, quantum-resistant communications, underwater drone designs, advanced sonar architecture, puts the UK in a position that Russia simply cannot match. AUKUS gives Britain access to the most advanced military research ecosystem in the world. And that partnership is reshaping everything: submarine development, drone warfare, cyber defenses, and next-generation weapons. This is why the new Royal Navy is not just building ships, it's building an entire ecosystem. And that raises the final, uncomfortable question: is a direct naval clash between Britain and Russia likely? Officially, both sides say they don't want that, but the risk is higher than it has been at any point since the Cold War. Russian spy ships circling undersea cables, British frigates shadowing Russian destroyers in the North Sea, submarines coming dangerously close to each other in the Barents Sea, aircraft performing aggressive intercepts over the North Atlantic. NATO reports document these confrontations regularly. Most end without escalation, but the margin for error is shrinking. That's why the UK is preparing for the worst-case scenario. And that is what truly worries Moscow. The Royal Navy is no longer the lightly funded, overstretched force of the early 2000s. It is becoming a technologically advanced, nuclear-backed, submarine-dominant, drone-enabled war machine built around one objective: to counter and deter Russia's military power across the North Atlantic and beyond. The new war plan makes one thing absolutely clear: Britain is not preparing for symbolic deterrence. It's preparing for an actual fight if one ever comes. And because of that, Russia now faces a Royal Navy far more capable and far more dangerous than anything they expected.